and what was it? 3 light square bishop moves as well. It's all about the minor pieces for Hikaru. He does eventually get castled. He's lucky that the center is locked, that it's blocked, so he's got away with it. This loss of time, but it's bizarre seeing a world-class player show such indecision.
This has almost justified a little bit some of what Hikaru has done, because Tanya mentioned that brilliant bishop on f4 makes it a little bit dicey to go queenside, but now that the opposing bishop has come back to d6, okay, we didn't expect the bishop retreat, but it does a great job of neutralizing the bishop on f4, and suddenly there's a little bit of justification for what Hikaru has done.
It was really the only way to get your king to the queenside, where he perhaps feels it a lot safer, because if you go opposite side castling, then Arjun was ready with the pawn storm, g4, g5 coming in. You know what? Arjun doesn't care. This is why he's called the madman over the chessboard. His king is on the same side, but he's still going for that pawn attack. Again, the theme, when your opponent's knight is on b6 or on g6, you always have to keep the flank pawn movement in your mind. a4, a5, kick that knight away.
You know, Magnus did something very similar to Nihal Sarin in one of his successful quarterfinal games. In the meantime, we did see a trade of bishops, and there we go, the white pawn trying to act as a battering ram, opening up the black king. He defends a pawn on the other flank. Arjun does have doubled f-pawns, so endgames might be favorable for black and the knights, but short term we see the eval bar struggling to fully decide who has the advantage. It does look like it's slightly easier for Arjun just because the black king a bit weaker.
And the pawns around the king is well weakened now because of that a-pawn moving forward. You know, you could always shift your attention, moving that d1 rook, which right now stares at its own bishop and pawn, rook c1, try and target the weaknesses around the black king. It just feels like so much easier to be white. You mentioned an endgame. I'm going to predict there's going to be no endgame in this game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, we could see something explosive happen a lot sooner rather than later. The queen moving out to d7, having half an eye on the pawn on h3, but that's not really the hottest property on the board right now. Nonetheless defended. And if the knight or bishop for white move too far from defending the e4 square, maybe Hikaru's looking at planting one of his knights onto the e4 square as well. So there's not that much maneuverability yet. I feel like there needs to be something to unlock the rest of white's attack.
Ooh, he goes back. I was expecting him to jump into the center, even at the cost of a pawn, Hikaru. But very, very passive play from him, and now Arjun's trying to hit from all angles. Arjun's not held back at all. Pawns flying forward on the king side, flying forward on the queen side. This last move given a question mark, but it's very tempting for any human to try and break open, potentially with a sacrifice, the black king.
And the speed with which Arjun played also counts for something. Hikaru's got to be feeling it himself, right? That the things are just not in the rhythm today. In that game 1, in game 2 as well. But he's the one player who's able to shift these gears really quickly. And it's far from over this one. You know, we're talking about that a6 pawn, a huge strength for Arjun. But it can, in certain positions, also come under fire. That queen from d7 could slide over to c8, and then suddenly you're wondering, how am I defending that a6 pawn? So you've got to be watching out for these ideas. Knight c7 on the board.
And it's a big moment to sacrifice or not to sacrifice for Arjun Erigaisi. He's burning a bit of time here, and that's because there's a huge move, a huge decision that is available to him. Knight takes b6. We're showing it on our analysis board. The pawn has to recapture because the black queen is hit. White's queen jumps forward. He doesn't go for this. The black king sliding in the corner. The key detail here is the black knight on d6 holding the b7 square, so there's no checkmate. The white queen cannot deliver the killer blow. White's rook here, though, could have slid across the c1 with a big attack brewing and long-lasting compensation. He didn't go for this, Arjun. I wonder if he'll regret it a bit later. And, okay, we see the game continue, but now black's knights are in perfect defensive harmony. I would have gone for that. I just assumed Arjun, with his nickname, the madman, the style, the fire that he likes to bring, he might have been tempted if he weren't already ahead in the match.
How low would the clocks have had to be for Arjun to have gone for that? I feel like that would have been a function of time. The more time you have to calculate it out, the less likely we would have seen the sacrifice, right? If it was a minute each on the clock, does Arjun go for that?
I think also depends on the match situation, but you're absolutely right. If you're relying on your intuition and your instinctive play, then you just play for it if you don't have time to overthink it. But Arjun is rushing through these decisions. Even in the last game, he didn't take knight takes bishop. He didn't take his chance in that moment. A moment missed, and in this one, another opportunity missed there.
Hikaru has grabbed a pawn. The black queen took a pawn on h3, now trying to force a trade. And to take or not to take, that is the question. Arjun, if he takes that queen, would have allowed the black pawns to connect. And look at this, Hikaru annoyed at himself. He's missed this last move, a knight retreat. Knight Retreat moves are the hardest to see in chess, they say, and now Arjun's piece about to jump in with some checks, might regain the pawn on d5. Anyone's game now.
And it's going to be so much about the clock as well right now, with both players around 2.5 minutes for Arjun, 3 minutes 15 seconds for Hikaru, and the endgame full of opportunities. But I think White's the one pushing. Rook e5, I like that move, puts pressure on d5. If you trade, you solve Arjun's problems off those doubled f-pawns. Harder decisions for Hikaru to take here.
Yeah, the black king is actually in the kill zone, even with the queens off. That black king is not entirely safe. Rooks are coming, knights are coming, so Hikaru needs to get pieces off the board.
Now that swapping of rooks there allowed at least a little mini V formation of pawns in the center of the board. So that's going to be looking relatively solid. We've also got the pawn on d5 looking a little bit loose as well. But compared to how things were before, if you look at the relative activity of pieces between Hikaru Nakamura and Arjun Erigaisi, there's not a huge amount of difference, because the black rook can move now potentially after a couple of knight maneuvers, and it's not looking as difficult to come up with a plan for Hikaru as it was before.
Yeah, and if rooks disappear, I should mention Hikaru wins on the spot, guaranteed, due to the black h pawn pushing forward. There's no rival. That is a passed pawn. If rooks disappear, Hikaru wins. Knights disappear, Hikaru has the advantage. But for now, Arjun needs to keep pieces on the board, needs to somehow combine them and go for the black king.
It's an extra pawn for black, and that's Arjun offering a repetition right now. He jumps back with the knight. It's an inaccuracy, and this is when Hikaru leans in, because he smells weakness on Arjun. You know, he knows he's got that extra pawn. Arjun offering a draw would usually mean, with a repetition would mean, that he's not happy with his position.
Yeah, you have two choices here as Hikaru Nakamura. You can agree to the draw, bring the black king back, allow it to get checked, and a dance between knight and king. Or you just say, I'm calling your bluff, I'm going to push my pawn. H4 here, pushing Harry the h-pawn forward for glory, trying to make a new queen as quickly as possible. That is the other one, but risk attached.
Huge risk attached, because White's also threatening rook to c7, knight c6, rook takes pawn, and that would be just a checkmate. So it's not only the d5 pawn that's hanging, there are checkmating ideas against the black king.
If you're Hikaru, do you not instantly play the king back anyway to repeat once to buy yourself time and then think? It's interesting that he didn't even repeat once.
Oh, he didn't, and Arjun has blundered. He was going for a checkmate. The key was not to allow the white knight into the square and allow a checkmate on a7, the Arabian checkmate. Instead, that square has been covered by the black knight. This is why an exclamation mark has appeared, and now he's 3 squares away. Black's h-pawn is 3 moves away from becoming a new queen. Arjun might just be too slow now to defend.
How do you even bring it? Your knight, your rook, your king, all offside from stopping that h-pawn from moving forward. That knight on d4, the only move that Hikaru had to defend the checkmating idea. Of course he finds it. And we've been talking about Hikaru struggling perhaps to find the flow, find the rhythm. It's wins like these, it's moments like these that puts you right back into the game.
And it's bullet time now. Look at the red appear on Arjun's clock. He's tanked. He's realized he needs to go into reverse mode here, bring the white rook back to stop the h-pawn, but that is desperation. He goes all in, rook takes pawn, but Hikaru just needs to push. That h-pawn is becoming a new queen.
3 steps away, nothing's gonna stop it. Arjun gambling with his own e-pawn, but Hikaru's queen comes with a check on h1.
That is the key here. Arjun Erigaisi just isn't quick enough. Black gets there first in this race. Hikaru only has 1 winning move. The black knight cannot move away and take that pawn as the white knight jumps into c6. He needs to just keep going.
He's gonna find this. 1.5 minutes. Knight takes pawn, loses on the spot. You get checkmate, and of course Hikaru finds it. He's gonna check Arjun's king, make a queen, a new queen on the board, and then once the king moves away, he'll go on the defense and stop Arjun from doing the same.
Why is he not making a new queen? Why is he not pushing forward? He's trying to calculate the rest of the sequence, Hikaru, but the first move is obvious. You make a new queen now with a check, and then you think.
You do it with a check, exactly. That is forced. And he does it, and he's got to have seen it through now.
Now the black queen retreats. That's very flashy. Any rook check now from white will be blocked by that black queen. It's going to throw itself in the way. Hikaru is going to be a rook up once the dust settles. We see the head bob from him. 1 minute against 24 seconds. He's about to strike back in this match.
His entire recap, Arjun plays on, but it's not going to be for too long. And there it is, Arjun resigns, Hikaru Nakamura back in the match.
At the Esports World Cup, Arabian checkmate threatened. We can think of very few fitting maneuvers here that would allow Hikaru Nakamura back into this match. It is game on. 1.5 in the third place decider.
Wow, that one turned so quickly. Arjun here, we see him lingering in the arena, trying to play through, realize where it slipped away. For so long, he had a big advantage, but he let it slip. He gambled, he went for the Black King. Hikaru too good in defense, and it was that H-pawn pushing that decided this game.